Spokane Valley could become a sanctuary city of a different
Councilman
kind.
Caleb Collier says that this
I'm proposing that the city of Spokane Valley issue a proclamation stating that our city is a Second Amendment sanctuary city.
Welcome to the fire.
Today on Church and State, our net has holes in it with Commissioner Clarence Carter. Hello, Christian Patriots, and welcome to Church and State, where we drive morality and religion over tolerance and apathy. And I'm your host, Caleb Collier, once again, your favorite far-right shock jock, and the show that talks about politics and religion. Jesus Christ is our referee, so it's always nice and clean. Real quick, I'm going to point you to the website, churchandstate.media. Fill out that registration form for us. You'll get the newsletter, and of course, personal phone call from yours truly. While you're there, check out some of our most recent episodes. We continue to cover hard-hitting stories, information that you need to hear. Also, check out some of the featured guests that we've had over the years. Incredible people, Dinesh D'Souza, Ron Paul, so many great people on there, Alex Newman. With every one of those, just click on their name. It'll take you right to the episode. Also, peruse through some of the great affiliates that we have. As I tell you all the time, these are companies that I trust, that I actually use. And with every single one of those, if you use the coupon code or promotion code, Church and State, with many of them, you'll get a discount, but regardless, you'll be helping to support us. And speaking of support, hit the donate button for us. Keep us alive on NRB TV, Prepper Broadcasting Network, newscasters, the new ones, CDM, Your News. I mean, we're all over the place, but we also have the opportunity to expand and be in direct competition with people like Sean Hannity and Glenn Beck on terrestrial AM/FM radio. So if you want to help us, $10 a month, $20 a month, whatever it is, we appreciate it. Lastly, if you want to get hold of us, churchandstate1776 at proton.me. With that, thrilled to bring you Commissioner Clarence Carter. This is a man who's been in the mix for quite some time. He's written a book. Our nets are safe. Well, it's not our safety nets, but that's actually what it is. But our nets have holes in it. Talking about the current system that's been established to assist people in their darkest times. He's worked for numerous people, numerous presidents. He's part of the D.C. homeless program. And Commissioner Carter, it is a pleasure to have you on Church and State.
Caleb, it is a pleasure to be here with you and your audience today.
Well, thank you very much, sir. So, this is something that I think the vast majority of Americans are deeply aware that there's fractures in the system, that the systems that were established under people like FDR, that were supposed to ensure a chicken in every pot, as it were, that they've been raided. I mean, you look at like Social Security, for example. There is absolutely no way that Social Security is going to continue. I don't plan on seeing any of the money that I poured into it. You've dedicated your life to trying to help people through this system. Tell us a little bit about your work.
Sure. I have dedicated a career of 35 years to addressing the challenges with the systems, the public systems that we have designed to address human vulnerability. And have had the blessing and good fortune of serving in the administrations of 2 presidents, 4 governors, and a mayor, the federal, state, and local levels of government. And so I have developed an intimate understanding of the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of that system. And dialing back into where you started this, helping our vulnerable neighbors is something that is baked into the DNA of this society. America is the most generous and benevolent nation known to humankind. This nation would give one the shirt off its back. And in the beginning of the book, I actually lay out some validation to that point. And so I then say, it's not that we don't care enough. It's not that we don't spend enough. It's that what we do is stupid. And that we need to do that differently because it's our intention to help. Our intentions are being thwarted, flawed design and execution.
Well, I love the fact that you're just not pulling punches. That's fantastic. It's stupid. I like that. I like that you're using harsh words to describe the current situation that we're in. So for the audience here, can you kind of give a 30-second overview or whatever of what is wrong with the system currently?
Sure. So let me begin with a slight explanation. Okay, that when I use the term public safety net, I'm referring to the system of federally authorized programs that were each designed with the intention of addressing some dimension of human vulnerability. And so there are currently 114 of those programs that were all developed singularly to address a single aspect of the human condition. They evolved over time. And because there was no overarching intention in the build of the system, it is literally just an aggregation of single purpose programs with no true north. And so therein lies the problem, that we begin with no shared vision. And I make the argument in the book that we have to begin with a shared vision, and that I propose that shared vision ought to be in concert with the principles of the Founding Fathers. The Founding Fathers intended to form a society in which the greatest degree of freedom could be held by the citizenry while protecting for health, safety, and commerce. And so it stands to reason all of the mechanisms of that society ought to be designed to meet the same intention, the greatest amount of freedom. Well, our system of public supports, this aggregation of single-purpose programs, is not designed to produce freedom. It actually produces dependency.
Well said.
Because its intention is the delivery of a program, not the well-being of the citizenry. And so my base argument is that if we begin with that founding principle of freedom, then what you do is you re-architect what exists to be able to produce that. And that success or victory is the day that consumer doesn't need it anymore. Okay? Success is not that I deliver you a food stamp benefit. That's actually, putting Band-Aid on an open wound. But that's what I get judged on. I get judged on the delivery of the benefit, that I get it to the right person, that I get it to them in the appropriate amount of time. Okay? My argument is, yes, we should measure those things for accountability's sake. But shouldn't we also measure what did we do to help that consumer not need that, next week, next month, next year? Okay? And so we need to, part of the reform of the system needs to be measuring the outcome of well-being. Okay? Did what we do move the needle so that vulnerable neighbor can get to the place where they can take the baton of their life and run the rest of their race without public intervention?
I think most Americans are very aware that there is massive problems within the so-called social safety nets. And you're absolutely right. You nailed it. You're breeding a mentality of slavery through this, where you are beholden to the government, where the government has become your daddy, and there's never an incentive to better yourself. It's like the old analogy: if you give a man a fish, you feed him. But if you teach him to fish, there's his life. He can then progress and reach for the stars. And that used to be what America was about: was people reaching for the stars and accomplishing great things. And now we become this dependent welfare state. I want to ask you this, though. There's obviously so much bureaucracy involved in this, and you've got the warring factions. You got the Democrats, which are kind of the welfare state, and then you got the Republicans, which are the warfare state. And they're not agreeing on anything. And meanwhile, the American public, we're spending billions of our taxpayer dollars on all sorts of issues. We're talking about the social safety nets, but there's a lot of other things that our money is going to that I don't support, I don't vote for.
And let me tell your audience, Caleb, that the amount I mentioned a little bit ago, that there are 114 of these individual programs. We spend, and this is federal government alone, I've got a list of the programs and the spending in the book. We spend annually $1.49 trillion on those 114 programs. And Caleb, that's the federal government alone. That doesn't count. In almost all of those programs, they are not administered by the federal government. They're funded by the federal government. The states and localities administer them. And the states are required to put up a cost share to actually administer the program. So the 1.49 trillion doesn't count a penny of state money. It doesn't count a penny of local money. It doesn't count a penny of money from the community of faith. It doesn't count a penny of money from the private sector, from philanthropy. So my argument, and I hope someday to be able to do a full mapping of our expenditures, because it far exceeds that $1.4 trillion. And that's why I say we don't need more money, okay? We just need to be better stewards of those dollars.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree. I was actually an EMT for a number of years, and through that I dealt with a lot of the homeless population. And there were a number of different facilities that would care for these homeless people that we could take them to if they didn't want to go to the hospital. And what I found is the ones that were state or federally funded, well, they didn't work very well. And then there was a couple that were private Christian ones. And guess who saw the greatest success in turning people's lives around? The private, of course.
Absolutely. And what's very interesting about that, and this is the conversation that I had with my dear friend and colleague who heads Governor Lee's Office of Faith and Community. I said to him a couple of years ago, I said, Lance, what I'm responsible for is transaction, okay? In the government, I can do the transaction of, let's say, a SNAP or food stamp benefit. But if my intention is to grow someone beyond the vulnerability that has them need food stamps, they need not only transaction, but relationship. And I said, government doesn't traffic in relationship. And I said, so can I ask of you, can you bring together a group of faith leaders so I can ask for their help? And he said, I would absolutely love to do that. We have built a partnership, and we are building a structure in Tennessee that speaks to this. But I started off speaking to that group of faith leaders. And I said that it was President Reagan that said that the 9 most dangerous words in the English lexicon is I'm from the government and I'm here to help. And I said, Lance and I want to turn that saying on its head. I want to say, I'm from the government and I'm here asking for your help. Mm-hmm. Because government cannot solve the most vexing problems of our society. it requires all of us. And so I am trying to humbly from the government, which government doesn't have humility, okay, ask for the help of the community of faith in helping our vulnerable neighbors. And they said, just tell us what to do. And is there any way that you can make that bureaucracy work so that it's not so painful for us to try to engage with?
Yeah, I love that. Commissioner Carter, what if we, as parents, decided to treat our children the way the government treats the vulnerable? Where it's like, hey, you're this beautiful baby. I got you in my arms, and I'm not even going to teach you to walk. No education, nothing, because I just want to hold on to you like this. We'd end up like the humans in Wall-E, the Disney movie, where they're just these obese people in these hover chairs. They can't do anything for themselves.
That's right. And one of the things that I say to folks all the time, every parent that has ever held their child's hand to help them walk across the street, they were doing that not because they were going to do that forever, but they were preparing them to do that for themselves. And shouldn't that be our objective in our safety net? Help people get to the place where they can do for themselves.
I mean, it makes sense to me. I'm always going to side on the private, the churches, and for a very long time throughout recorded history, safety nets came from the church and private entities, from families who were taking care of individuals who maybe were falling on hard times. Maybe they were out plowing the field and they broke their leg, and so the family and the church is going to come alongside them. We farmed that out to government, and in typical fashion, because of the bureaucratic nature, it's just failing us.
And that is exactly one of the points that I make in the book, that over the course of years and the evolution of our safety net, as the size and scope of government has increased, it has served to crowd out the rest of our society from being part of the problem solving. And so that's why part of what we have to do, yes, we have to fix the government mechanism. But the other thing we have to do is invite the rest of the society back to this problem solving. Now, one of the things that I talk about in the book, to me, one of the most uplifting things that you see on a regular basis in America, whenever there is tragedy or calamity, everybody wants to help. And they bring whatever it is they have. They might have a shovel or a truck or a sandwich or $1, but we just rally to that. Okay, that's the DNA of this nation. Okay, and I say that's the kind of rallying to that I hope that we can get to a place where we invite our society to for this problem of vulnerability. This is, yes, the government is always going to have a role to play. And I know, Caleb, you and I would go back and forth on that. And that's good, okay? But I think that has sort of been long settled. The question is, one, whatever that role that government is going to have needs to be infinitely more efficient and effective. But at the same time, we need to bring the rest of America back to the solving of this problem.
Yeah, I would agree with that. My wife oftentimes accuses me of living in this libertarian utopia, and so, if I had this magic wand and I could wave it and return it back to the original intent, which would cut a lot of government programs, I realize, because I am a realist, that would be utter chaos, that this country is not prepared to deal with that level of freedom. And so what I like about your approach is you are taking that realist approach here. Hey, let's bring the American people back into this conversation, into this solution, without creating the chaos that my magic wand would do.
That's it. And Caleb, I'm probably going to get in some trouble here. Okay?
You're on the right show for it.
Okay. that is for me part of the challenge that I feel like President Trump has created. And I worked in his first term, okay? And I feel like got some good work done. But there was such a level of chaos because there's so many things that government has just completely fouled up. So many, okay? And quite frankly, it needed to be taken a wrecking ball to. But it's hard to work in the midst of all the chaos. And so in a second term in which I was asked if I wanted to serve, I said thanks, but no, because I wanted to be able to do this work in a less chaotic environment. And Governor Bill Lee is every bit principled and conservative with only 5% of the chaos. And so have been able to do some great work here in fashioning this vision of how you move this existing safety net from the mess that has become to the transformational model it could be.
Well, and that's the point, right? Like, we didn't get here overnight. It has been 250 years of slow encroachment upon the freedoms that you and I were discussing in the beginning of the show. And so we're not going to get back there just by snapping our fingers, creating this chaos. I'm realistic enough to admit that, all right? And maybe that gets me in trouble with some of my libertarian audience. But look, I want to get there. I want to get there. How do we get there? We're going to have to slowly fight our way back, inch by inch, just clawing our ways back towards that freedom that our founding fathers had established. And so I approve of your methods.
And Caleb, the thing that I am most buoyed by is the discussion that we are having today. I have had this very discussion in so many different places, left, right, and center. Nobody disagrees with it. Now there is a question, okay, how do we get there? But when you begin the discussion with the objective of freeing people to act in their own best interest, nobody argues with that with that outcome. Now, what I get struck by is some people say, "Well, isn't that what we're doing?" I say, "No, that's not what we're doing. That's so different than what we're doing." And then that enables this conversation. And so I find great resonance with this pathway. And I just so appreciate the opportunity to engage with your audience, because what it's my intention to do, I am hoping, and again, the reason that I wrote the book, so that we could engage this nation in this conversation and actually start a firestorm that would drive the transformation of the system of public supports. So it is based on this freedom model.
Yeah, I like that. Let me ask you this question. And I'm not sure if you know this, but maybe you can speculate. How many of these government safety net programs are applied internationally, where it's not actually benefiting the American citizens, it's going to some other, and granted, there's a lot of poverty, a lot of warfare, a lot of sicknesses and things that are going on in other countries. But is there a portion of this money, these trillions of dollars, that are going to foreign countries instead of the U.S.?
So the 1.49 trillion that I mentioned, that is all domestic. Now, of course, there's foreign aid, but that's not part of that 1.49 trillion. And we have some pretty, I would say, I don't want to say strict, but some pretty significant guidelines that are intended to protect that 1.49 trillion for American citizens. Okay. So yes, we continue to provide foreign aid for our neighbors. Since you raised the issue, when at the beginning of this second term, when the president closed down USAID, there was this hue and foreign cry, oh no, we're not going to provide support for the people who are around the world. And that wasn't it at all. It is that boatloads of those dollars were being used through non-governmental organizations to do just ridiculous stuff in foreign countries that wasn't in any way in alignment with our advancing American ideas. And so closing that down, having that become part of the State Department, it allows the Secretary of State to ensure that those dollars are going to other countries, but that those dollars are supporting American ideas.
Yeah, some of the things you'd see in there is like transgender benefits for indigenous tribes in Africa, and it was like, what? Like, I don't think that's their issue. That's not what they're struggling with over there. Okay, so yeah, I definitely get what you're saying there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, well, I appreciate your insight onto that one. I want to bring up, because we're approaching a hard break, but for the NRB TV audience, I want to make sure that they have an opportunity to look at your book. So we're going to bring up the Amazon link here. Our Net Has Holes in It by author Clarence H. Carter, Commissioner Carter here, but a veteran public servant who has some very interesting ideas, as you've been able to hear. But tell the audience why they should read your book.
Because you should read Our Net Has Holes in It, because this is something that you give a damn about. You care about helping the vulnerable in our society. That's the nature of our American society. And I want you to understand that the precious resources that you make available every single year are being squandered because of stupidity. Okay? And so what we want to be able to do is to truly take advantage of the American heart that dedicates precious resources to this endeavor. That's why everybody should read the book.
Well, I think my audience can get behind this, what you're talking about, the squandering of our personal wealth. I don't know anybody who looks forward to tax day. Yeah, they're like, oh man, how much do I owe the government? This is great. I wish we could audit it, and see like, where's all this money going to? We don't seem to retain that right. We should have it, but all this money that we're getting taxed, yearly on, where's it going? How is it being effective? I mean, look at any business, and if you're involved, if you're a shareholder in this, you can look at it and say, hey, you guys aren't spending my money wisely. Maybe I take my business elsewhere. Now, we're going to come back. We're going to keep talking about this with Commissioner Carter. This is Caleb Collier with Church and State. Are you tired of your device spying on you? Ladies and gentlemen, we live in 1984. Your phones, your tablets, your smart televisions, they all are spying on you. And this is why I heavily endorse Mark37.com. This is everything you need for your digital privacy. Phones, tablets, laptops, all of them are ghost protocoled. So that means that you are in charge of your own data. Just go to churchandstate.media, scroll over to shop, and hit mark37.com for all of your privacy needs. Make sure to use that promo code Church and State. And we are back, and thank you for staying with us. You're over at churchandstate.media, and we're going to go right back to our very interesting guest. But real quick, I do have to plug one of our amazing affiliates. And Chris, I'm thinking coffee. I mean, we're talking about America, right? We're talking about American history. We're talking about our founding fathers. Well, they all loved coffee. No, they were dumping tea in the harbor because we don't drink tea in America. We drink coffee. So check out Hunter's Blend Coffee. I love this stuff. I drink it. Chris likes it as well. But go check them out. They're Christian, they're patriots, and some of the best coffee on the market. Hunter's Blend Coffee. Make sure to use that promo code Church and State. All right, and real quick, once again, hit the donate button for us, please, ladies and gentlemen. Keep us on the air. Conversations like these ones, they truly do matter. I love bringing in a wide variety of different guests that we can talk about really important subjects. So if you like it, hit the donate button for us. All right, with that, let's go ahead and go back to Commissioner Carter. Our net has holes in it. And Commissioner Carter, I had brought up, my desire to audit the government and all of its spending. And I brought up the comparison of if you're a shareholder in a business, that you can look at how they're spending their money. But we don't seem to have that right here in America as we're looking at what's being spent on, our citizens for these safety nets.
And Caleb, the truth is, okay, we are very audited. There is a single audit that gets done on every agency that I've been in every year, and then all of the federal programs have some kind of monitoring or auditing function that they put us through. It is just that we're auditing compliance. Okay, as I said about the SNAP program, the three things that I get measured on is, did I get the benefit to the consumer that was entitled to receive it? Did I get it to them in the appropriate amount? Did I get it to them in the appropriate time frame? So I would say that it is not that we don't have an eye on these expenditures. I really just believe that we are asking the wrong things. This is the very thing I said to Governor Lee and Chief Gibson during my vetting process for this job. I said, you ask the wrong things in your safety net, and truly, what they ask for is compliance. They don't ask for issues of well-being, and that's where we really want to sort of shift the energy. I am about to been asked to testify before the House Oversight Committee later on this month about fraud, waste, and abuse in the SNAP program. And I'm going to explain some of this, but I'm also going to explain to them that, as there's been this big examination of fraud in these programs over the past, few months, part of the challenge is that the policy design of the programs isn't such that it was set up to detect and mitigate fraud. Okay? So there are design problems with these programs that are not best for mitigating those who would steal precious resources from our vulnerable neighbors. So we have some tightening up to do on the federal side, okay? Just like we've got some tightening up to do on the state and the consumer side in ensuring that these precious benefits get to those who are eligible to and entitled to receive them, but then that they achieve this purpose of freedom that we believe ought to be the core of any safety net initiative.
Sure. And, one of the commandments of Jesus was to care for widows and orphans. Let me just put it this way. I would not want to be somebody who had stolen from widows and orphans when I was standing before the great judge. It's a kind of a terrifying thought right there. Let me ask you this. Oh, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, if I could, on that whole notion of widows and orphans, I just want to say that in its infinite wisdom, one of the stupid things that government did in this welfare system was it actually kicked men out of the house.
Yep, absolutely.
It said that you could not receive this benefit if it was a man. And so government, in its infinite stupidity, broke the family. And we wonder why today so many social ills have been visited upon us because that most important institution in our society, which is the family, government had a role in destroying.
Yep, absolutely.
And so one of the things that we have focused on here is going back upstream and saying, if it's our intention to serve vulnerable Tennesseans, okay, let's go back to the scene of the crime, okay, and let's look at how we can strengthen family, because the brokenness of family is what starts the slide into the sea of vulnerability. So I just, the widows and orphans part, I just needed to touch on that.
Yeah, I mean, I got to tell you, my wife, I've been trying to get her to move out of, I'm in Washington State. It's a mess. It's a zoo out here, as you well know. But I've been trying to get her to move to the Southeast, and Tennessee is a top contender. And so you're making it harder for me to stay where I'm at, Commissioner Carter. I'm listening to all the things you're doing in Tennessee, and I'm like, yep, time to move to Chattanooga. My wife and I like Chattanooga.
Absolutely. Caleb, I had to, I spent that first term of the Trump administration in D.C., and it was just so toxic. D.C. in the aggregate was just so very toxic. I had to get out of there. And every engagement in the district is transactional. People always want anybody engages you. They engage you because they want something from you. So I get to Tennessee, and everybody speaks, okay? It's the nature of the beast. And the first thing I thought was, what do they want from me? And what I quickly came to understand is they just want to greet you. They don't want anything. This is a warm, engaging culture here that is, one, it is the most fiscally responsible place I've been, okay? And there is a real embrace of the human experience here. And so we just, come on down, bro. Come on down.
I'm going to get you in contact with my wife there.
There you go.
Let me ask you this, just from my personal experience. When I was in the Marine Corps, I was in comms, and every single year, I remember this distinctly, they would tell us, hey, it's the budget time. And if we don't use the budget that's been allocated for us, if we come in under, then there's a potential for the next year that they'll take away that budget. They'll establish it at the line that existed the year before when we were under budget. And so is there an incentive with a lot of these programs to either remain right at the budget they've been given or exceed it for fear that they won't get that money the next year?
So what's interesting in one particular program is this is the welfare reform initiative of the Clinton administration. And it created the Personal Responsibility and Work Opportunity Reconciliation Act and the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families program. It was the successor to Aid to Families with Dependent Children. What's unique about that program is that states get the same amount every year, and they have for the past 30 years. And what they don't spend gets held in escrow. So it doesn't revert to the Treasury. And that has created some challenges in and of itself, because when I got to the Trump administration, there was, across the states, there were $6 billion of that money that had been stockpiled. And so it hadn't been expended. And I sent out a letter to the states because I was in the agency that administered that. I said, why don't we put those dollars to use and look at some innovative approaches to helping families with dependent children? Well, the states told me to go to hell. Okay, but as the Lord would have it, my next assignment was Tennessee, and the reason that Governor Lee engaged me was because Tennessee had the largest unexpended balance in the country of $740 million.
Wow.
And so he asked, can you help me with that problem? I said, yes, I can. And so I came here and we worked with the administration and the legislature to construct a program that would not only spend down those dollars in effective ways over time, but we also stood up some very innovative pilot programs that are testing new ideas, and that we've used the gold standard of evaluation to measure those pilots, because the governor and the legislature said, we want to know what works, okay? And we're going to throw out what doesn't work, and then we're going to move to those things that prove to be effective to us. So over my tenure here, we have been testing models. Tennessee has really been a laboratory. We're trying to transform the Tennessee safety net that I hope to become a model for the rest of the nation.
I think I figured it out, Commissioner Carter. I think you just make too much sense for the state of the federal government. I think that's why you've been frustrated there. What you're saying seems logical to me. It makes sense. I'm glad that Tennessee scooped you up because as anybody who's watching knows, Tennessee is probably one of the greatest states in the union.
It absolutely is. It absolutely is. And Caleb, the reason that the state government is better for me is because this is the place where I actually get to touch the consumers that I serve. Okay, the federal government, they make rules and move money. Okay, here I actually get to, in administering the programs, I get to get out and see, is this working for the people that it's intended to work for? So, whenever I get jaded by the nonsense of the system, doing something like going to a graduation ceremony or a fatherhood program where a cohort of fathers has gone through a set of courses and be re-engaged with their children, seeing the pride in their children's face as their fathers receive the certificate for completion of this. And even, and in that engagement, seeing that spouse who probably can't stand him, she's proud, at the accomplishment. You do something like that, you get a chance to go to a court date where where foster kids are being adopted, okay, and getting forever homes, all right? Things like that. If that don't just touch your heart, then you got problems. So I really get a chance to see my work in action.
Yeah, I love that. I got to tell you, one of the things, I'm a big advocate for the 10th Amendment because the 10th Amendment allows for competition within the states. And this is exactly, like you said, this is a laboratory. Tennessee is a laboratory for competition to say, hey, all you guys, you're doing it the old way. We're trying some new and innovative ways. Will it work? Will it fail? We don't know. It seems to be working right now. And the people can flood the market. They can get in there into Tennessee and say, hey, yeah, this is the state that I want to live in. So hats off to you. I applaud your efforts on this one.
Thanks so much. As I said, this is the thing that God put me on this earth for. And as long as I have breath, I'm going to continue to follow this path. And I hope that I can, serve as kind of like a Pied Piper to share this set of ideas and bring the rest of the American society to what its true intention is. I mean, this is our hope. And I think in many instances, we think, even though on tax day, we all cuss, okay? What our hope is that these taxes are doing these kinds of things. And so I want to ensure in this instance, I want to move us towards where these tax dollars are helping us to meet our true intention as an American society.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we've pretty much run out of time here. What I want to do is I want to bring up the Amazon again. I want my audience to read this book, Our Net Has Holes in It by Clarence H. Carter. And it's just, I've had a fantastic conversation with you. I've really enjoyed it. Even though we might have some different beliefs, we've come together. We've had a very pleasant discussion about this. And I do believe that your solution will, it has merit, obviously, but it will be successful in here. And once again, it's moving towards the founding fathers instead of away from the founding fathers. And I do respect that and appreciate it so much. So last words for the audience, sir.
Caleb, thank you so very much for the opportunity. And to your audience, this is something that we all care about. And so please engage with the book and help us. I feel like this is a journey towards a place that our society wants to get to. And so thank you so much for the opportunity to be with your audience today.
Yeah, absolutely, sir. Maybe I can convince my wife, I know there's a Collierville in Tennessee. Maybe I could move there, become the mayor of Collierville. Right there. I mean, it's a match made in heaven right there. It's perfect.
That's exactly right. and the show would certainly have a perfect home in Tennessee.
I definitely know that for sure. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and close this out, sir. Once again, pleasure having you on the show. If you'd hold on one more minute, post-production, say our goodbyes, I'd appreciate it. But thank you for all the work that you're doing. I know Tennessee thanks you, and I do as well.
Thanks, Caleb.
Absolutely. All right, ladies and gentlemen, there you go. Solutions. You know that I'm a solutions-oriented show. And while, I know I have that pie in the sky libertarian outlook on this, this is a solution that will work, that'll pull us back from literally the edge of chaos to working in a system that does actually benefit all citizens. Church and State is brought to you in part by Colonial Life Spokane Independent Agents, Finders Insurance, and Mark37.com. I'm Caleb Collier. I was born for a storm.
Welcome to the fire.
This is Caleb Collier with Church and State Media. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're not sleeping on my pillow, do you even patriot? I got to tell you, this is the most wonderful stuff from a man who's given it all for your freedoms. Whether it be the pillow, the sheets, or the slippers, I absolutely adore My Pillow. My Pillow has the greatest products around. I know when I want to shuffle around in my bathrobe and slippers and yell at the neighbors, of course I'm buying from My Pillow. I need you to head on over to churchandstate.media, scroll over to shop, because every single time that you purchase any of these products using the promo code Church and State, you ensure that we keep our message out on the air.
I thank everybody for your support in using promo code Church and State. You guys go to mypillow.com/Church and State too, and then you get your own little platform right there, everybody.
Hey, this is Caleb Collier with the Church and State podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I want all of you to go to Galileo.com. You need to stay connected no matter what comes our way. Whether it's government intrusion or a meteor falling from the sky, Galileo has you connected. As a Marine veteran, I can tell you that communications is essential. Galileo has you connected. Whether it's worldwide coverage, uncensored content, or real-time alerts, Galileo is going to make sure that you're connected with your friends, family, and neighbors. Just head on over to churchandstate.media, scroll over to shop, and hit Galileo.com. Make sure to ask them for a free bivy stick, and make sure to use that promo code Church and State. Are you aware that the Holy Word of God tells us to eat beef? Romans 14:2 says, one person's faith allows them to eat anything, but another whose faith is weak eats only vegetables. Look, it may sound kind of foreign, the idea of meat being an investment, but as you go to the grocery store, you can see that everything is increased. This is including beef. So buy something that's got a 10 to 15 year shelf life and make sure that your family is okay, and that when there's a crisis,
that you're not in a bread line waiting on the government asking, please, sir, may I have some more? Have you read the ingredients and the meats that are now in the grocery stores these days? There's all sorts of synthetic products in it. We got mRNA, they've got vaccine technology in it. Not for me. I don't want to eat that garbage. I know that I can trust the people at griddownchowdown.com because it is one ingredient, and that one ingredient is beef. The process is so simple. All you do is go down to your basement or your bunker if you're so lucky, grab the vacuum sealed package, go upstairs to your kitchen, open it up, add a little bit of water, wait a little bit, and boom, it's rehydrated, and you can make anything you want. Tacos, lasagna, hamburgers, whatever you'd like with the beef, your family is going to be happy and you're going to be well fed. I need you all to go to griddownchowdown.com and put in an order for this storable beef. They got lots of different options for you. Buy the $750 one and you're going to be set for a year's time. Remember, griddownchowdown.com, promo code Church and State.